Did you know that psychologist John Gottman, who was conducting research around couples, divorces, the quality of their relationship, he was actually able to predict with 94% of accuracy which couples are going to get divorced. Hi, my name is Patricia. I'm the counseling psychologist registered with HCPC here in the UK. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the advice that John Gottman has given to people in context of their romantic relationships and how to maintain a healthy and long-term romantic relationships. And again, I'm going to be using this excellent book written by Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, and where he talks about romantic relationships in context of emotions, and how we can become more aware perhaps of certain emotions and how that can help us to actually maintain a long, healthy relationship. So in last week's video, I've actually included some research that talks about potential issues that couples, they might be struggling in their romantic relationships when heading for the divorce. And as well about certain mistakes that we might be making, not even really being aware of them. So based on the research I've mentioned in a previous week video, we can conclude that one of the advices that we can give to men is that when woman, she brings certain topics into the conversation, maybe topics which are uncomfortable or difficult to talk about, she's perhaps doing this out of care, and because she wants to keep their relationship healthy, rather than them wanting to punish the partner or just looking for trouble. And additionally, in those instances when maybe you talk to your partner and you feel that you are being under attack from them, then maybe that would be a good time to actually step back and think whether your female partner is saying to you it is a personal attack, or whether it is them trying to convey that some of their emotional needs maybe hasn't been met. Maybe they feel rejected, maybe they feel hurt, maybe they just feel frustrated about something. And in those instances, if you will be able to actually pause and think, step back, that would then allow you to actually realize that yes, maybe she feels hurt, and then with that, it would be so much easier for you to become more empathic towards your partner, and also your partner will feel like you're actually hearing them, you're understanding them. And that altogether will really prevent the emotions from escalating. So perhaps that moment of pausing and thinking consciously what is happening in that moment, in that situation, will help with the empathy, will help as well with the other partner feeling like they are understood, will perhaps prevent you from jumping into these practical solutions that might actually be quite frustrating for your female partner. And then she will feel more understood. She might also feel respected because you've listened to her, and that also could prevent the harsh criticism that comes from women that I've talked about in my previous video. On the other hand, female partners perhaps they need to put more effort in how they convey what they're unhappy about. So rather using the harsh criticism or personal attack, and instead they can use constructive criticism that doesn't really point at the person specifically, at their personal characteristics. According to Gottman, based on his research, he concluded that couples who stay longer together, they tend to listen to each other better, and also they really exhibit that skill of active listening and of being empathic. Daniel Goleman, he actually said that empathy is just that kind of a tool with which we can master how to reduce tension in conversations with people. So whether it is romantic relationship, whether it is non-romantic relationship, empathy is really a powerful tool when it comes to reducing tension. So we can actually say that empathy, it is a key mechanism that we can use to prevent the emotional hijacking or the emotional flooding that I talked about in my previous video. Being able to navigate the conversation so we don't lose the track of what we're saying, about what we're talking. So keeping the conversation narrow to one topic and being able to reduce the tension. So when you notice in yourself or maybe in your partner that the emotions they start escalating, that would be the moment to pause and think, maybe we just need a break. And these are part of the emotional intelligence that can actually help us to prevent escalating conversations into those arguments that they get out of control. That will really help to have a healthy disagreement where perhaps at the end they will be able to find certain solutions for their problems. And we also perhaps need to remember that the change is not going to happen overnight, that it's going to be an ongoing process perhaps for both partners. And as well, it will be really important to know how motivated both partners are to make that change. But there is a very simple formula that every single strong emotion will be linked to certain actions. So being able to control some of these emotional responses will really prevent us to maybe doing things that maybe we then regret. And we need to tackle the emotions. We need to become more aware of, what we're feeling and what to do with those emotions on time before they get out of control. And that will be actually called the emotional intelligence. And specifically in romantic relationships, those emotions and actions, they're gonna be linked to our deepest needs, need of being loved, the need to be respected, also to a fear of being maybe abandoned or emotionally deprived. And this might be the reason why the flight and fight response can be triggered so easily in arguments in romantic relationships. And in those instances, when we go into flight and fight response, so we are emotionally hijacked, means our rational brain is just switch off. And in those moments, there's no way that anyone can resolve any problem. There's no way that anyone can think rationally. And using emotional intelligence, we need to try to prevent to get to that stage when we are emotionally hijacked. So when we feel that our emotions are raising, that will be a good moment to actually pause, step back, and maybe take 5 or 10 minutes break. And couples that actually, they might have an agreement between each other that in those situations when we maybe talk about something which is difficult, if you're gonna notice that I'm becoming emotionally really active, just remind me and yourself that, maybe we just need a 5 minutes break, like a timeout. Additionally, some of these very strong emotions, they're gonna be also triggered by our negative thoughts. And some of those negative thoughts that we might have in an argument, it could be that he doesn't care and he's always so selfish. So in those moments, if we are able to pause and think, is he really always selfish? Or maybe there is actually something that he does for me, but maybe only in this instance here, he acted selfishly. And that new reframe way of thinking actually gives you some possibility for positive change, where the previous one, he's always selfish, just it triggers perhaps a hurt and frustration, and perhaps also doesn't really give much space for any repair. And then maybe in those very difficult conversations, when you're able to pause and think, you can actually reflect, all right, so what's happening here now? What's this harsh tone is about? What this insult is about? Why maybe she speaks to me like that? What that conveys? What she wants from me? And it could be simply that the person just wants your attention. So maybe you haven't been paying enough attention in a conversation. Maybe you haven't been empathic. Maybe you haven't been actually listening actively to her. And as I said before, the most powerful non-defensive way of listening, it is empathy. So not only hearing what the person is saying, but also feeling the emotions behind the words. And this actually can be practiced. So in those situations when you're having conversations which are not stressful, you can just mirror what the other person is saying. So you just repeat in your own words what the person said, and you try to mimic the emotions as well that they just expressed. So this mirroring will give you the sense that you are being understood, but also it will give you this emotional attunement that you really need for a good quality conversation. And then possibly will prevent any conversation from escalating to the stage where it is out of control. And another way of how we can help with de-escalating strong emotions in arguments is by showing someone that we are understanding their perspective, although we might not agree with it. Also taking responsibility for certain actions or even apologizing can also really help with de-escalating the emotions. And all this advice about being empathic, actively listening, being able to pause, reframe, your negative thoughts into more positive thoughts, they're all good, but they need to be practiced in those times when you talk to your partner but you don't feel stressed. They need to be practiced in those no stressful conversations, because in those instances where your emotions are already high up, it's gonna be very difficult to use certain techniques if you haven't actually practiced them, if you're not familiar with them. So yes, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it any helpful, then please like it, subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one then. Bye!